welcome into the Bob Devaney Sports Center and John Cook Arena for the first Nebraska gymnastics meet of the season. We are absolutely thrilled to be bringing you this event here on Big Ten Plus. Arden Lockheim alongside Kinsey Davis, and we have a quad meet to start this one off. Nebraska is hosting alongside the Missouri Tigers, Wisconsin-La Crosse, and Wisconsin-Stout. So we're going to have a lot of action here this afternoon, undeniably. For Nebraska and Wisconsin-La Crosse, it is their first meet of the season. Kinsey, what does that mean?
Yeah, the first meet of the season is a big one. You really want to start off steady. You want to prioritize safety. You want to hit 24 for 24, and you really just want to get yourself a starting point that you'll be able to build upon over the rest of season. You don't want to do anything too crazy this first meet out the gate.
Absolutely. For Missouri, they've already had a meet this year, and they're trying to repeat one of their historically best seasons in program history. Kinsey, they're trying to make that national championship again.
That's right. Last year, they finished third in the country, and I spoke with head coach Shannon Welker, and he mentioned that they really want to reinforce that they are here to stay and that it wasn't a fluke and that they belong in that top couple in the country.
For Nebraska, they made the second round of NCAA regionals last year. They're trying to make it a little bit farther. Nebraska will be starting on vault. It'll be Karis Griffin, the freshman, followed by Peyton Peck, also a freshman, and then a few more experienced people. Whitney Jenks, she was second team All Big Ten last year. Reese Beckley, Tegan Shaver, another freshman. And rounding out their vault lineup is Isabel Saikon. She was a Big Ten gymnast to watch alongside Whitney Jenks at the beginning of this season. Missouri will be on bars after that. It's Addison Lawrence, Lauren McPherson, Olivia Kelly, Hannah Horton, Kimara Eccles, and Michaela Green. For this, they were projected number 7. Obviously, they finished third last year. What are they trying to do coming into this arena this afternoon?
Yeah, this meet for Missouri will be their first travel meet of the season, and they had a great home opener just last weekend, approaching nearly a 197, and they're really trying to just mimic what they did at the home meet at their first away meet today, and so it'll be an important indication to see how their team handles adversity and just a new change of arena and different equipment. And so we'll see how they perform today outside their home territory.
I will say these Nebraska fans are very welcoming to outside people. You hear the starting lineups, they're clapping and cheering for everyone, but that cheer gets a little bit louder for their own Huskers. Really a group of fans that are incredibly proud to be fans of the Big Red and the Scarlet and the Cream. I think they're absolutely pumped to have this gymnastics team back. It's a team that, like we said, they made the second round of regionals last year. They want to go farther this year. The team's goal, what's been reiterated in their press conference at the College of Journalism and Mass Communications, in their team meetings, and far beyond that, is that they are a Sweet 16 team, Kinsey.
Yeah, so Sweet 16 is the goal, and this approach started way back in August with their team retreat and establishing what their hope is for the season. As you approach postseason and you approach the regional bracket, you know, their goal is to make it to that second day of regionals, and that therefore will qualify them for the Sweet 16. But much more than that, the coaches and the girls have really taken this approach of what would a Sweet 16 athlete look like. It's more than just a placement. It's what behaviors does a Sweet 16 gymnast have, and how do they handle a bad day? What does a Sweet 16 gymnast do on their day off, prioritizing recovery, etc.? They really have just embodied this whole thing, this whole season, as Arden mentioned, just Sweet 16 all through the roof.
For Wisconsin-La Crosse, they're not to be scoffed at. They were NCGA national champions last year. They're trying to mimic that this season. Their team's motto was to defend, not repeat. They want the same result at the end of the year, but it doesn't have to take the same route. I got the chance to talk to head coach Jenna Matz, that's assistant coach. I got to talk to head coach Casey Crawford before this, and she talked a lot about how she wants her girls to take this opportunity to show that they can hang. They're good enough to be in this arena. They want to learn from the many different people around them, but they also want to show that they belong. And there was Karis Griffin, the freshman, starting us off here at this Masters Classic.
Karis did a stellar Yurchenko full with just exceptional form, tight ankles as we watch this replay now. She really dialed that landing in, and what a leadoff for a freshman. No form break, no form error. You can see she took just a controlled step, and those lines there on the mat, those zones are actually subjective, and just for reference for the judges, they don't indicate a blanket deduction there. So we'll see if they caught that going a directional change, but what a great vault from Karis.
Next on bars will be the senior Addie Lawrence for Missouri.
Nice release there into the pack salto. The leadoff roll is so important because it sets your team up for just the swing of things and getting into a rhythm. And she hit that routine there, a good leadoff position. Small hop back on the dismount, but was rather clean otherwise.
In gymnastics, obviously you're watching dismounts. That's a very big aspect of the judging. What is the difference between a deduction when it comes to a step versus a hop, something like that?
That's a great question. A lot of landing deductions are subjective due to their size. You know, how out of control did they seem? Theoretically, a hop and a step back or a lunge would be the same degree of deduction based on its distance. Although some landings are a little bit more pleasing to the eye. I think taking a step back just kind of shows you're in a little bit better control and body position rather than, you know, flying forwards or backwards in a hop. But yeah, really you want to be looking at distance, and you want to just show the judges that you're controlled in whichever way you rebound out of that landing. I know you mentioned some mottos here, and another one for Wisconsin-Stout was that their motto is to feed the flame, and this kind of reminds me of Nebraska's motto as well. Their idea is that a flame starts small, but small contributions impact that fire, and that kind of goes through attitudes, mental framework, and gymnastics. And the goal is just to really feed the flame, as they say, and grow and expand in that and have positive changes. So that's something great about their program as well.
Doing her best to feed the flame is Grace Edwards, the leadoff on floor for Wisconsin-La Crosse. Karis Griffin there with her first score on vault, 9.75 to start off the Huskers. And next up, it will be the freshman Peyton Peck.
Two freshmen back-to-back. We'll see what she does here. A nice full. A little bit of control, as I just mentioned. Peyton is actually capable of a Yurchenko 1.5, which is a 10-0 start value, but they're slowly warming her up to that. Heather Brink told me that they just want to start her out steady and safely, and we can see there she has a ton of power. Would love to see her dial that in, but definitely showcases that she has the ability to add an extra half to that. Nice form in the air. You can see that she just jammed into the table with her arms. But those freshmen debut, nice vaults to their feet.
That brings up Lauren McPherson. She's a graduate student, actually transferred over from San Jose State. She'll take over the second spot for the Tigers on bars. This is her return to collegiate gymnastics, as she was out all of last season with an injury.
That's right. She got injured last season after just transferring right to Missouri. So she's an experienced veteran, but this will be her first time in a Missouri leotard, and her bars is just beautiful right now. You can see she has a full extension through her shoulders, and she has such tight form, such a tight athlete. Oh, and really try to get that dismount. Good effort from her there. Just took a small step there, but good routine from Lauren.
Wisconsin-Stout starts off with a 9.5 on beam. We didn't get the chance to watch it, but it was Cora Cardolino.
I want to just mention that step forward we saw from Lauren McPherson. That will be called an under rotation, where the judges will have to take that into consideration for their deduction. An under rotation will always be significantly deducted higher than that of an over rotation. And the reason behind that is it just shows lack of completion for the skill. She really tried to go for the stick, and she was just quite there. She just barely kind of misjudged it, but that step forward might hurt her score a little bit more. We'll have to see. It's in the judges' hands, but it was quite a deep squat and an under rotation moreover. So we'll have to see how the judges decide to score that, and that'll be the same across the board as we're continuing to watch beam here.
And this is Cassidy Leonard that we're watching on the dismount. How much does direction impact there? You saw her jump to the right. How much does that impact the judges' scores?
Yeah, that's definitely a significant impact. If you have a directional hop, it can be up to 3/10 or more, depending on the size, but judges closely look at that as well. Wisconsin looks happy with that routine and hopefully ready to build off that as they continue to have more gymnasts underway. And here comes Whitney Jenks on the vault. Such a solid vault from Whitney. Whitney is such an experienced veteran. She's so consistent, so calm, does her job all the time, and yeah, has a nice clean full. We see that she just takes a small hop backwards, but really precise form in the air and really nice job. Her chest was slightly down, which judges may factor into scoring her. We can see that Peyton's score was, as I was thinking, going to be impacted a little bit just by that out of control hop that I was mentioning. Landings are so, so important. You'll probably hear us talk about it quite a bit, which is why Arden had mentioned the hop and the step or the lunge. I mean, ultimately you want to dial in that landing perfectly, but if you're not able to achieve that, how you respond to it in a controlled manner absolutely is going to impact your score.
See there, as you mentioned, Addison Lawrence over for the Tigers on bars, 9.775, and then McPherson after that with a 9.75. Decent start for the Tigers, but probably a little below what they want to see themselves starting with, but it is early season, as you mentioned. Yeah,
I would agree, but the interesting thing about Missouri is just last week at their home opener, they had a 49.45 on bars. Addison last week got a 9.9 and Lauren with a 9.875, so that's certainly a little lower than I'm sure they're hoping for, so they're definitely ready for Olivia to kind of pick up the pace here and set them right back on track.
This is Olivia Kelly's bar debut this season. She didn't compete last week at their home meet.
It's looking great so far. She's a very tall athlete with beautiful lines, and it's really enjoyable to watch. Nice dismount there. She just took a step back, but you can tell she was expecting it. She was expectant of the ground coming to her, and what a high release move into that overshoot there. Looked like there was a little bit lack of control after the overshoot onto the kip, so I'm interested to see what the judges take for that, but otherwise it was a very solid, very clean routine.
Now on floor, it's McKenna Myers for Wisconsin-La Crosse.
Unfortunately, a fall from Wisconsin-Stout on beam right now. Response is so important after a mistake. You still want to get right back up there and pick up with the rest of the routine to the best of your ability.
Saw that pop up. Whitney Jenks for the Huskers, 9.775 on vault.
Solid double pike on the floor. A nice presence, good musicality. Floor is the entertaining event, so you really want to get the crowd involved and be captivating and demanding of attention. And having good tumbling is great, but you also got to have that presence too to get people to keep their eyes on you. Here comes Reese Beckley on the vault. Yurchenko tucked 1.5. Spectacular from Reese. That was awesome. That is a 10-0 starting vault, and she has such a tight tuck in the air, tight form. It's a really deliberate tuck shape, which is really nicely done when it's clean, and she was really ready for that landing. She engaged her legs, and she was ready to take that step forward, move that foot back as you're supposed to do, and held the landing. So nice job to get them going through the middle of the vault line up there and be the first 10-0 vault of the night.
That's McKenna Myers just finishing up for La Crosse on the floor.
They're happy with that one.
And then now we'll take it over to Hannah Horton for the Tigers on bars.
Hannah Horton is so dynamic. If you look at her scores and just all of her contributions on all 4 events, she really is just spectacular and solid as a rock. And I think that she's a great leader for this team, and a good example of being a little bit later in the lineup to kind of maximize that score. Again, with a little step backwards, we haven't seen so many sticks tonight. It's still really early in the season, so this is something that I think gets more confident along the way. But again, just wanting to mention those great scores they received just last week, earning them the 49.45, is showing a little bit of a difference here, kind of adapting to, I think, the new equipment and the new mats in a different arena.
And you saw pop up Reese Beckley locked up a 9.85, highest vault so far over there. Olivia Kelly, who was the 3rd on the bars for the Tigers, a 9.85 as well. So creeping into the 9.8s a little bit here as the meet gets underway, as we prepare to watch Wisconsin-Stout here on beam.
That's right. You want to be in the 9.8 range for sure, around a 9.8, 9.85. That'll put you in the 196 overall mark for a complete score. And this back half of the vault lineup, I think, is going to be able to do just that. Tegan Shaver, a freshman, has really an exceptional full with great form and very consistent. And Isabel Sycon, of course, the returner, just rock solid every single time to anchor this group. I expect to see in the 9/8s with those two scores as well, which hopefully allows to drop a little bit lower scores. And we saw some beautiful jumps from this beam routine right now, getting ready for a series. Back handspring out, step out. Nice and solid.
This is Jaden Carroll for Stout. She's a sophomore from Pasadena. She's used mainly on vault for them, whole wobble and fall off there, but she's competed on beam a little bit.
Yeah, she looks confident on there. Unfortunately, just a fall, but she's really enjoyable to watch. I've really enjoyed watching her jumps in her series, and her confidence, she was very sharp, so unfortunately just took a fall, but likely will come with experience, as you mentioned, typically a vaulter for them, so awesome that they're putting her in the mix, and I'm sure that she'll, you know, fix some things up and learn from this, but has a great presence. Now,
the freshman Tegan Shaver getting ready to go her first vault of college.
Beautiful. That was just awesome. She's also dynamic. She has a good pop off the table. And what I'm most impressed with Nebraska's vaults right now is actually their form. Her ankles are glued together, and the landings are something that will come with time to dial that in. But such great form and such great position and body shape in the air. And I think that'll take her far. And she has just, yeah, a lot of amplitude.
And that's Kamara Eccles for the Tigers with the first stick of the afternoon.
That's right, first stick, and they're excited about that. That was an awesome routine. Another look at that dismount here. Another example of just great form. I'm really seeing these athletes dial in and pay attention to their body shape and body position, not giving anything away. As we see a 9.8 from Tegan Shaver.
Hannah Horton also locked up a 9/8 for the Tigers on bars. And it's now La Crosse on floor. These floor routines have such a mix of choreography alongside the different skills and the tumbling passes. Kinsey, you were a college gymnast yourself. How do they go about putting together these routines?
Yeah, so for floor specifically, you definitely want to prioritize that certain individual's personality. If they like something a little more sharp and bold or something more graceful or fun. And I think the girls just get in their element. But gymnastics speaking, you got to gain back 6/10 of bonus, and gymnasts can go about doing that by looking at the value of each skill and what suits them best, forward and backward skills. Different difficulty levels, but again, they also have to fit certain specifications in their routine and make sure they're covering certain things, even skills such as A's and B's and values. So there's quite a construction you have to do, and you can go about it many different ways to achieve that 10-0 start value.
On the right side of your screen, you have Michaela Green for the Tigers.
Maloney Pack, beautifully done into that half pirouette. Really well done over there. Goes for that stick and nearly gets it, just has to take a step forward, and that's unfortunate because that routine was awesome and it will still score great, but she just had that stick. Judges will have to consider that small step forward though, but what a great effort there.
Now Stout over on beam. They've had a couple falls already, so not going to be quite the score that they want. Going to have to keep the score of one fall.
That's right. We see that score from Eccles come in from Mizzou as a 9.925. That's the first of breaking a 9.9 tonight, and much deserved. She was excellent, and based on other scores in the other meets, sounds like it's just what she does. She's so dynamic.
That's her season high so far, had a 9.85 last week in their opening meet.
Here comes Isabel Sycon on the vault, getting ready to prepare. I'm hoping she can drill this landing here. She's so good at finding her landing. And just about gets it, a small hop in place, but so powerful from Isabel. She has such good body awareness and air awareness. She knows exactly when the ground is coming, and she expects it and demands it. And what a great anchor. And I really watched Isabel mature in her gymnastics and grow in that capability. And so it's just shining right through for her.
Wisconsin-La Crosse on floor now.
Front layout, front double full, really impressive. That's a difficult element to do. Takes just a small lunge to the side, which will be slightly more than forward or backwards, but again, a difficult skill there. Nice leap combination.
Scores just coming in for Isabel Sycon as well. 9.85 there for the final vault of the afternoon for the Huskers.
That puts the Huskers at a 49.025, which is awesome that they broke through the 49, first meet of the year. A change for the Huskers has been Heather Brink, head coach, taking over the vault apparatus and integrating some of her training expertise into their preparation. I was talking with her, and she had a really precise plan of adding just 4 inches to their standard mat training throughout preseason to get them prepared a little bit ahead of the game compared to the last season or season before. She really set out to have them ready to go at an earlier time frame, and it looks like it paid off. 49 is right where they're going to want to be, and aside from dialing in some of those landings, you can tell that they look like they've put the work in.
Now rounding out the Tigers bar lineup will be Maya Terry.
Beautiful routine. Another really tall athlete with great lines and extension. That's always pretty to see on bars. On bars, you really want to pay attention to those who are a natural swinger and who have good rhythm. It's such a beautiful, elegant apparatus that athletes can have different styles in going about it, but it's always really pleasing to the eye to see someone who just can naturally swing so well. It's important to recognize as well these last couple athletes going will be in the exhibition spot, also considered the alternate. So in gymnastics, 6 individuals go up and the top 5 scores count, which is why we can see some of those higher scores coming in will drop out the lowest score of the lineup. Here we'll have Caitlin Barth going in the exhibition. Wow, she sticks it. Caitlin Barth, that was an awesome recovery. She was a little bit sideways on the table. We can see her right hand was almost pretty close to falling off, so she really had to fight through that one. But that really just shows her grit and determination, as we see a second look at it here. She really held on to it, and it paid off.
How do coaches use these exhibitions? What is the impact of them as the season goes on?
Yeah, exhibition is such a great tool. It ensures that you have athletes who are ready to go just in case you need an alternate, in case someone goes out hurt or sick, or just in the last couple minutes you need to switch someone else out. It also gives them a chance of just experience to still salute and face the judge and perform under pressure, that even if in that moment they don't get traded out as an alternate, they're still in the running potentially for a lineup spot throughout season. You never really rest on just your 6 individuals. It's a really common practice to switch people in and out, and so that exhibition spot might be used, we'll see tonight, by freshmen who might need the experience, or just other individuals who want to have a turn under their belt prior to being in a lineup that we might see them in later in the season. We got some fun music going on floor here.
It's always fun to see the kind of mix of genres you'll get. Get a combo of Taylor Swift and the Red Hot Chili Peppers in the same night.
That's true.
Mizzou got their final score in for Michaela Green as a 9.825, so they'll finish their bar rotation at a 49.225.
This is really interesting because both vault and bars have been concluded at this point from the Huskers and the Tigers, and there's a small margin there, a 49.025 and a 49.225. Nebraska has been looking strong on bars, and it's definitely an event they're capable of getting in the 9.8 range across the board. So we're hoping to see at least a 49 there, if not higher. And of course, Missouri, just coming off of a 49.2 on vault last meet. So it'll be close.
See Missouri getting ready. They're going to warm up before we switch out rotations. Before that, we'll have our final beam exhibition before this rotation wraps up for Wisconsin-Stout. It'll be Caden Swank exhibitioning for Wisconsin.
She's in a great position here because as we saw some falls earlier in the lineup, as I was mentioning, just the opportunity to potentially be switched out. So her performance here could get her an opportunity for the lineup spot in their next meet, depending on how it goes. And so although the team might have a great rotation or not so great of a rotation, this exhibition spot is not factored into that score, but still very important for the gymnast in that role.
You get in the Leo, you salute to the judges. It feels real to an extent, and you can get that extra level of preparation that you maybe don't get inside practice.
Certainly. As I was mentioning prior between Missouri and Nebraska, it could be tight, and they, as I mentioned, went 49-2 just last meet on vault. And landings will be everything for them, and landings on bars as well. I spoke with Brian Amato on bars. There's a chance for these younger girls to step up, and Nebraska has unfortunately had some last-minute injuries after winter break that were unforeseen, of course, and so there's some athletes, specifically Karis Griffin, who were already in the mix of bar lineup, but Brian has made it abundantly clear that the opportunity is now and the time is now, and it's a chance for her to step up to the plate because Nebraska is in need to fill that 6-person lineup, and that mix is kind of interchangeable. But now is a great opportunity for her as a freshman to make her debut. So that's something we're looking forward to, in addition to Molly Peterson, who is also a freshman, also just phenomenal on bars, has earned that spot and is prepared to do so. So it'll be interesting to see here how the scores play out between Missouri and Nebraska.
Final exhibitioner for La Crosse here on floor. They're going to finish up floor with a 48.1. Not quite at that 49 level, but for them, it's first meet of the season in a Big Ten arena. Can't be terribly mad at that.
Yeah, I'm sure they're learning so much from being in an arena like this and enjoying just performing for the crowd for both teams of Wisconsin. They're excited to be here and be in the mix, as you mentioned, and so it's a fun and useful opportunity for them nonetheless.
That concludes the end of our first rotations. As we mentioned, Missouri 49.225 on bars, Nebraska 49.025 on vault. You see it here. Missouri was led by the 9.925 by Eccles, and we'll be back to see if they can keep that momentum going on Big Ten Plus after a quick break after this. Welcome back inside the Bob Devaney Sports Center and John Cook Arena for Husker Women's Gymnastics. Arden Lockheim alongside former Husker gymnast. We didn't mention that. Kinsey Davis, 2020 to 2024. You were performing out on this floor. After one rotation, Missouri leads it 49.225 to 49.025. And as we'll look at it here, Kamara Eccles, the 9.925 on bars, and Reese Beckley with the 9.85 on vault, as well as Jamie Beatty and Adeline Snyder for both Wisconsin teams. What did you see Missouri and Nebraska do well on their apparatuses?
Yeah, all these athletes are both aggressive and dependable. Those high-scoring athletes were really just ready to step up to the plate and really comfortable in their position. We'll see the event switching now, and you'll want to see the same thing here. The bar lineup for Nebraska is a lot of new faces. There's two freshmen with Molly Peterson and Karis Griffin, and a couple other new routines that weren't really in last year. So this will be a telling event to see how they handle some of these changes and new pressure on the bars.
And then Missouri will be on beam. Their beam lineup is Amy Weir, Lauren McPherson, Kennedy Griffin, Olivia Kelly, Rayleigh Jackson, and Addison Lawrence. And then all of these teams will also have an exhibition afterwards. Missouri getting ready. The touch period is coming to an end, and Wisconsin-La Crosse will be on vault, and Wisconsin-Stout will be on floor. These events, obviously, you look at them, you compare the score at the end of every event. Kinsey, is there an event that maybe scores higher than others, or how do you kind of gauge where you're at in comparison to the competition when you haven't all competed on the same apparatuses yet?
That's a great question. Sometimes judges, it really just depends at what event you're on, but they could either be holding them down or overscoring a bit. So since every rotation has only been done one time, this will be our first chance to really see if the bar scores and the vault scores are comparable with the opposite team, or if they were more specified for that specific team's performance. These seem pretty fair to me right now. Across the board, it's hard to tell with the different level of gymnastics we're seeing, but execution will be everything. And I mean, these next rotations, the more we do, we'll tell how comparable they are.
This is junior Olivia Burns on bars, starting the Huskers off.
Nice blind change piked Jaeger. She's being so aggressive right now, going for those handstands. Olivia has some experience. She has exhibitioned a couple times last year. She should be comfortable here. She's been on these bars before, gearing up for this double layout. And just a small step back. What a great lead off from Olivia. That's exactly what you ask of your lead off to do, is to hit their routine in a solid way. And what a great choice to put her up while she has some experience.
Strong start for the Huskers. Amy Weir is going over on the beam for Missouri. Redshirt senior. She had a 9.9 on beam last week at their starting event.
Yeah, I talked to head coach Shannon Welker, and they actually did great on beam last week. They had a 9.9, another 9.9, 9.85, and a 9.95. However, they did have to count a fall last week. They had two. And with the great performance Missouri did have, that would have made a big difference in kind of creeping up on that 197 score. So this will be big here for them to rebound and hopefully not count a fall this time. That'll impact their beam score overall significantly. As we see a cartwheel gainer full off the side, stuck. That was beautiful. What a gorgeous extension through her hips, and nice job from Missouri.
Weir is no stranger to big moments on the beam. She led off in the NCAA second round and tied her career best in that one, and she competed in every single event on the beam last year.
Wow. She opened up with a 9.9 just last week, so definitely comfortable in that leadoff position, definitely comfortable on the balance beam, and it showed too. She was very steady.
This will be Lily Millington on the vault for Wisconsin-La Crosse.
We see a 9.725 come in for Olivia Burns. Here goes Lily on the vault with a Yurchenko layout full. Nicely done. You can see she kind of sprung up there on that landing. Had great form in the air though, and a good block. Just didn't quite get that landing.
Karis
Griffin now on the bars.
Took the words out of my mouth. The freshman from St. Louis, Missouri. She's 5'9", Kinsey. How can that height affect the gymnastics?
She is so tall. She just stuck that dismount. What a debut on the bars for Karis Griffin. I was just going to say, she is so lovely on the bars. She does a Maloney pack salto and also a Van Leeuwen Maloney half back up to the bars. And I know that dismount is a work in progress. That's something that she's been working on, that's been allowing her to be in that floater position for lineup contention. And as I mentioned earlier, you know, this was her moment to take advantage of an opportunity while another athlete might be out. And she's a gamer, Brian said. He could tell she's a gamer, and she just drilled that landing no matter what it would take. I will say her chest was down quite a bit. The judges will definitely have their eye on that, which could be a significant deduction. But otherwise, I mean, just lovely on the bars.
Amy Weir locked up the 9.85 for the Missouri Tigers on beam, and now Lauren McPherson in the number 2 spot.
That's right. Lauren is an experienced veteran, as we said before. First time with Missouri, but not her first time to a competition, as we see a nice triple series from her. Weir got just slightly lower than her score opening last week of the 9.9, but such a great lead off, such a great score to start us out with.
And then over on the right side of your screen, that is Reese Williams for Wisconsin-Stout.
Round off 1.5 dismount. Really clean form, just a hop forward. That'll be a small deduction, but I know they're happy with that. Another hit routine, so 2 for 2 so far. This is Sarah Pastori on the vault.
And then over on bars for the Huskers, it'll be Nia Kraus.
We saw Yurchenko half there. A little bit of an unusual vault. Typically you see Yurchenko full or 1.5, but she did that very nicely done. Good form, just a small hop forward. We see the 9.65 come in for Karis Griffin. As expected, probably a pretty significant deduction on the shape of her chest down. Unfortunately, Isabel just a little close on her release move and comes off the bar.
Changed up the order of their lineup a little bit. Isabel Saikon taking over in that 3rd spot. So when you fall on the bars, what's the schedule of events afterwards? How much time do you have to recover, and how can that affect the judging based on series?
Yeah, if you have a fall, you have 30 seconds to get back up there. You can choose to get chalk again or not. In some cases, if you fall, there might be a lack of completion in the skill that you've fallen on, and you might have to repeat it. In this case, I'm not sure what she's going to do. She, I think, is going to repeat it because she does a Jaeger to overshoot combination connection, as we'll see her here complete that combo. Really nicely done. In other circumstances, you can just pick up after the skill. But Isabel is just such a competitor, such a rock, that I'm sure that was a really unexpected fall from her. But she got up just like a veteran and restarted it and got the job done ultimately. On vault, we just saw Grace Kerr. She is a D3 vault national champion and has a 10-0 start value for their team. Yurchenko tuck full, and that was a really beautiful vault, a really deliberate tuck shape that's clean and tight, and she just had loads of amplitudes. That was really awesome.
And it's Kennedy Griffin on your screen right now for the Tigers. A few wobbles to start off this routine, though.
Looks like she's composing herself here.
She didn't compete in their home event last week, so her first beam performance of the season.
Wow, that was quite the monster connection there. A switch leap, standing switch leap, followed by 2 jump elements. Getting all her bonus in one connection, it looks like. running punch front full dismount with a nice landing there. Brings the heels together and holds that landing. They're happy with that. They're looking strong and steady on the beam. Unfortunately, the Huskers were likely hoping for a bit of a different start there on bars, so this back half of the lineup has an important role here.
Over on bars now, this is Nia Kraus for the Cornhuskers. She transferred over from Lindenwood last year when their gymnastics program got disbanded. She and Reese Beckley both transferred over and have made the most of their time here with the Huskers so far.
Yeah, both Lindenwood transfers are enjoying their time here at Nebraska, have really found a home and a family among the team. And Nia was around last year to be kind of in that exhibition and lineup mix on bars. So she set up big to really respond well here. I think response is so important as a team member to a fall in front of you, because you kind of have the opportunity to set your team back on track. And again, you do get to drop a score. So ideally, the Huskers would be able to drop Isabel Sycon's score when that comes through. So these next few routines are going to be really important for them.
And there she is, Nia, known for her very emotive facial expressions. You'll see it later this afternoon when she does floor, but she's practically grinning ear to ear as she flies through the air often.
It's really important she remains calm and composed here. Ready to overshoot. Nice job controlling that. She'll be set up for a big dismount here, so we'll be hoping she finds this landing. Nicely done. Puts it to her feet with a small controlled step back. Good work getting them back on track. We also saw a beautiful Yurchenko layout full on the vault just now from Paige Breckwolt. Nice job.
Now over on beam for the Tigers, it's Olivia Kelly. One of multiple Tigers taking part in multiple events this afternoon.
That's right, we saw her in the exhibition spot on bars. I was mentioning she's such a tall athlete that's enjoyable to watch. Just has beautiful presence and grace, and I can see that here on the balance beam as well.
Her teammate Kennedy Griffin had a 9.575, likely going to be the score that the Tigers are looking to drop.
Side aerial, nicely done to recenter herself. Such a hard skill coming in sideways. Followed by another hard skill, a double wolf turn. That is something you don't see frequently too much in college gymnastics. It's extremely difficult and hard to execute, but she did it lovely there. Wow, round off 1.5 dismount, and she flared that. She had a little flick in the air, a little bit of amplitude, and that was a really beautiful routine to watch. Here comes Molly Peterson, the freshman for the Huskers. This will be her debut, and she's also in an important role at the end of the lineup as just a freshman, but Nia set her up well to hopefully feel calm and confident here in this position. Maloney Bale, nice job. Really well from Molly, fighting for that. Going after the handstand and pulling her stomach tight to stay there on top of the bar. Another big dismount I've seen her stick frequently. Let's see if she can get it here. Full out. And just a small step forward, but exceptional work from Molly. What a task to go up and deliver for your debut, and at the back of the lineup too.
You mentioned it, that was her debut with the Huskers last year, just injured, and very exciting to get out on the bars and contribute to the team in a numerical sense, not just on the sidelines, with the level of excitement that is so present throughout the arena.
Yes, that's very true, and she had a beautiful, lovely dismount, just misjudged it there slightly, but absolutely, there's nothing like competing for the first time, overcoming an injury as well.
In bars, you see she took a step forward there. Is there a preference to stepping forward versus stepping back on your dismount?
Yeah, it's definitely more desirable to take a step back just to show full completion of your skill, and show that you had more momentum and power in you rather than not. She was going for the stick, and we've seen this a couple times this afternoon. However, judges will deduct slightly more for an under-rotated landing rather than that of an over-rotation.
Over on beam now we have Rayleigh Jackson for the Tigers.
Another standout athlete the coaches have said really picked up a bit of responsibility this year for the team and are filling some shoes in a big way for just the sophomore. So we'll see Rayleigh on a couple events here tonight as we're watching Whitney Jenks on the bars currently. This double layout dismount. Goes for the stick and has a slight wobble. Excellent job from Whitney, though, just delivering as she typically does. She's such a reliable and well-rounded athlete that she can just get up there in all circumstances and situations and deliver a routine that she needs to. Really fought for that stick. The judges will, again, have to pay attention to that arm circle. She did in the effort to do so. However, great aggression from her and risk to go after it. As we just saw another stuck landing on the beam for Missouri. They're really drilling these beam dismounts and really happy with their performance so far. Another look at Whitney Jenks.
Impressive grit by the Huskers after Saikon has that fall. And you can tense up a little bit, know that that's suddenly the score that you want to drop. But the following three athletes after her in Kraus, Peterson, and Jenks did a good job to put their entire routines together and finish strong.
Absolutely, and that's what it's all about, is as teammates having one another's backs. You're there to pick up someone else if there's a small error, and they really managed as a team well to finish strong despite, having a small blip there in the middle. Here's an exhibition from Emily Frost. Goes for a ray and just misses the bar, unfortunately.
Scoring is taking a second for the Huskers on bars, but Naya's score finally comes in at a 9.775. I think the judges might have been mixed up a little bit because even here in the arena, it has Kraus in the order before Saikon. So possibly a little bit of discussions after the routines there. See Frost just collecting herself after that fall. It's kind of a double-edged sword, right? The exhibitions are your chance to prove yourself, but there's also the benefit of your score isn't counting towards the team when you do fall.
Yeah, definitely. It's still, of course, wanting to put your best foot forward for the team, but as you mentioned, this will not affect the scores currently being calculated as she goes to finish her connection with a jump overshoot. She's capable of sticking this double out dismount now and is going to want to finish on a good note, and does just that. A good finish and a good response from Emily, not giving that routine away, not giving that experience up to really go after the stick.
Isabel Saikon's score comes in at a 9.125. That was after the fall, if you recall, on bars. And now finally finishing up the Missouri beam lineup is Addison Lawrence.
Addison had a 9.95 last week, so definitely a beamer here for these Missouri Tigers, and in a really well spot as the anchor. With everyone having hit before you, you can really let loose, and there's no pressure on her to have to carry the team in this way. She can just kind of soar as the anchor, and you can see she held that landing, had a little bit of an attitude there of, I am got this and I'm confident and I have a beautiful series.
Yeah, that was Wisconsin-Stout on floor, and now actually over to Addison Lawrence.
She definitely is entertaining the judges here. Doesn't want them to take their eyes off her, has some unusual elements. This goes back to what we were mentioning before about this being the Huskers' home opener and their first meet of the season. Missouri is coming off of their first meet where they can make corrections and make improvements, and I think just having one meet under your belt also gives you a bit of confidence going into the next meet. So that's something that I believe the Huskers will take forward from here. This is just kind of getting their bearings and getting that first meet of the season under their belt. Missouri will be happy with that, as you know, last week they had 2 falls, unfortunately had to count one. That's kind of a position we're seeing Nebraska in now, unfortunately has a fall. It's counting somewhat of a lower score, but again, probably room where they can significantly improve next week just by trying to hit 24 for 24 and make up those gaps.
Well, if you are the Tigers and you come off that meet last week, your head coach Shannon Welker, all you want to do this week, right, is just stick and have an 100% stick rate on your beam events. They did just that here today.
Yeah, they definitely made those improvements, and we'll see that in the score change. And yeah, little goals like that, you know, they probably just gained some confidence, gained some mental framework there, and they just completely delivered tonight.
We'll have Wisconsin-Stout on the floor.
Something important I wanted to mention was how much meets are weighted and how your scores will impact your NQS. Something new this year is that when you approach the postseason, you have an NQS, which is your national qualifying score, and that ranking was previously determined by calculating your 3 highest home meets and your 3 highest away meets. And you know, that just equals 6 meets out of 10 to 12 that you might have in a season. So definitely some wiggle room there if you have a poor performance or if you need some time to switch out lineups. However, this year the new format is that all scores will count minus your high and your low. So we're throwing out the outliers here and everything else will be average. So it's really important that all of these meets are being taken seriously because they all do matter, and it's really going to be tracked differently from here. Now we're counting a higher percentage of season meets, and it really should reward those teams who are more consistent. You should see teams that regularly perform in a consistent manner will reap the benefits of that, and other teams who maybe end up peaking later or kind of just not taking the front or back end of season too seriously are going to have to really uphold the longevity of the season.
This is Grace Ann Davis for her exhibition, and talk about consistency. Addison Lawrence, 9.95 on beam again this afternoon. That follows up her 9.95 to start off their season. Hot start for the Tigers and Addison Lawrence.
Absolutely, those are some solid scores on there. They'll just be able to drop the 9.575 from Kennedy Griffin, and that will put them at a 49.4, it looks like.
And over for the Huskers, their final bar score is going to be a 48.75. They dropped that Isabel Sycon fall. Molly Peterson with a 9.8, as well as Whitney Jenks.
Nice finish from Grace Ann Davis there. She's overcome some injuries, previously having injured her knee, I believe her ACL, and most recently ruptured her Achilles that she had to come back from. So such a fighter, and just really shows her grit and love for this sport to come back on beam and be in that exhibition spot. And so I expect to see her more throughout the season for Missouri, and a good finish for her.
Got a couple more exhibitions here on the floor for University of Wisconsin-Stout. Their exhibitioner will be Jaden Carroll. She is their only athlete tonight who's doing close to an all-around. She's in the lineup for the other 3 events and then exhibitioning on the floor.
Yeah, it's always exciting to have an all-arounder. Gymnastics can be made up of specialists. You know, you really want to put your best individuals up where you can, and so there's some strategy that way, but occasionally you have just a well-rounded athlete who's able to do them all, and you know that comes with pros and cons. It's awesome because you know she can wear many hats, but also you know might have room for injury management or just more risk that way, but good for Jaden for being able to be showing up in everything tonight.
from, like you said, a load management standpoint or an energy standpoint, how do you plan to try to be at your best for all 4 events without burning out, doing too much?
Yeah, I definitely feel like it's personal for everyone. Usually you try to decrease the amount of reps you're doing, and I believe quality over quantity always matters. The degree in which you're doing something at kind of matters equally, if not more, than how many you do. And so usually by the time you get to college, you kind of have a personal plan of what works best for you, which might not be doing every event every single day, or it might just be managing certain skills you do on the events. That might be breaking your body down, or it might be more demanding than others. So it's all just personal to that athlete.
I think the Nebraska team can kind of speak to it right now. This is an injury-ridden sport that, you know, they can come at any time. It's one where you're doing the equivalent of what you do in a meet in practice, and that can come with its certain risks.
Yeah, unfortunately, Nebraska has sustained some injuries just here recently, which has kind of been moving some things around. But something they made note of is that there's a couple individuals who are also going to be back on the rise, while some have recently been out, unfortunately. One of those is freshman Tegan Shaver. We should likely see her on probably everything at some point this season. She's such a dynamic athlete, had just a small setback a little while ago during preseason, but as we saw her vault tonight, she's on her way back on the mend, and although that's all she's doing tonight, she's actively preparing to add other events in practice.
This kind of break in the action is happening because our scoring system here is having some technical difficulties, is what we're hearing. So first meet of the year here in Nebraska. While the athletes are also getting into the swing of things, so is the scoring and the judging and everything that comes with a gymnastics season, but it looks like we're ready to rumble now.
Really lovely presence already. Slight under rotation, as you saw there. It looked like she was hoping for slightly more over rotation, but nonetheless got to her feet on that opening double back. Another double wolf turn, quite difficult. We saw one on beam, and they're also performed on floor. Manages that second pass well. Shows her flexibility quite a lot on the floor exercise. Really great routine from her, and a good way for the team to finish.
So after that exhibition, that brings us to the end of rotation number 2. 49-4 for Missouri and 48-7-5 for Nebraska on bars. We'll be back for the third rotation after a quick break. Arden Lockheim and Kinsey Davis here on Big Ten Plus. Back on Big Ten Plus, Arden Lockheim alongside former Husker gymnast Kinsey Davis. Nebraska with not their greatest bar rotation, probably not exactly what they were looking for. Missouri with a pretty good rotation on the beam, and Stout and La Crosse with stuff to build on as well. Nebraska's top performer was Molly Peterson on the bars, 9.8. Her collegiate debut, as we talked about, coming off an injury. And then Addison Lawrence with that 9.95 in back-to-back meets for Missouri.
Yeah, big scores we're starting to see slightly break through. It'll be good for both teams to stay in that realm of the 9.8, 9.9 mark. So that's something we're going to be looking forward to seeing in the back half of this meet.
So now after 2 rotations, Nebraska 9-7, 7-7-5, and Missouri extending their lead a little bit more, 9.8.625. Missouri in the preseason poll ranked number 7 in the country, Nebraska at 27. So to be expected that Missouri comes in and performs well in this one, but Nebraska's bar rotation, probably not what they were looking for, looking to recover on the beam. Their beam rotation, Whitney Jenks, Lauren Homisillo, Allie Gard, Nia Krause, Olivia Burns, and Isabel Sycon in that final spot.
So Coach Molly Korth was telling me that last year they lost about half of their beam girls, most notably the seniors being Emma Spence, Emma Simpton, and Sophia McClellan. So at least half of this lineup had to be filled here, and the room for some underclassmen to come and take care of that. On floor now we have Elise Tisler, Ayla, Kaya Tanskinen,
yep.
Rayleigh Jackson, Hannah Horton, and Kennedy Griffin.
Entering rotation 3 halfway through this meet for the Huskers, halfway through their first meet of the season. Missouri, as you mentioned, halfway through their first away meet. Missouri's really big motto this year, we talked about a little bit in our open, was that they wanted to show that last year was not a fluke. They did not get third in the nation by chance, and that they can repeat it again this year. How do you feel like, you know, this first away meet, their decent performance at their home to start the year showed that?
Yeah, they're definitely on the right track to allow that to ring true. They definitely are putting up a great performance now, and I think just feeding that confidence for themselves. They are in the SEC conference, so they're going to take this experience with them onto that conference later on this season. First up on beam is Whitney Jenks, a veteran here, the junior. Is used to being in this position, used to having to deliver on beam, and she's just a great first choice to put up, unfortunately, as we see her come off the beam there. It's really unusual to see from Whitney. I began to mention before how Molly said they had to fill the spots of those routines that they have lost, and Whitney is not one of those. She has the experience from all of last season and has been looking great in preseason footage, so unfortunately just has that fall there. But first meet could be nerves or the jitters. Molly was telling me how the girls in this lineup were in the arena earlier this week practicing on this very same beam and in this environment, and they hit 7 for 7. So they felt prepared and felt as though Molly has given them a lot of pressure coming up. So this is going to be a big task for the girls to follow, because that score from Whitney is going to be the one they want to drop. So we're hoping for the best here for the girls to follow.
Now on floor, Elise Tisler starting the Missouri Tigers off.
Opened with a 9.9 just last week. Another giant score for Missouri. As a total was a 49.45 last week. So the coaches on that staff feel like their events are well-rounded, but it seems like floor could be a big one for them. Nice leap. You can see the pop in the air. Nice flexibility and great first opening tumbling run. The bonus on floor is constructed so differently. You'll see 2-pass and 3-pass routines here. This is going for her second pass, was a 1.5 front layout. The passes are made up of their elements, and you have to reach a certain degree in both dance and tumbling. And so we'll see a mix tonight of 2-pass and 3-pass routines, and how those are constructed just depends on what skills they're throwing and how many 10th bonuses they're worth.
Good start for the Tigers there. A little bit of a more comfortable position than the Huskers, not having a fall on their first one.
1.5 front layout, another view at that.
This is Jaden Carroll for University of Wisconsin-Stout on vault.
Goes for that stick and takes a small step forward. Again, that under rotation we were talking about. But a solid vault otherwise, as we now see Lauren Homisillo on the beam.
9.175 for Whitney on the beam. Definitely going to be the score that the Huskers want to drop.
Going for a triple series, handspring layout. Nice job from Lauren. These routines are going to need to be big. Lauren has some experience, has been training beam the last 4 years, has had a couple opportunities to be an exhibition or lineup, and really could have a moment to shine here. Really great 180 position in the air on that jump. Going for the dismount now. Round off 1.5 and a small hop forward. A really great response in rebound after Whitney. They're going to be happy with that, and they're going to want to keep that momentum going. Nice job from Lauren.
How can momentum play a part when you're in, it's a team sport that obviously then you do have to perform individually. How can you build upon your teammates?
Yeah, that's a great question. Typically we see scores build, and what the judges do is they take a look at the routine they've just seen, and then hopefully you construct your lineup to go in an order that shows them something that is new and different from the previous person. So we would like to see them trend upwards in their ability to score high, but momentum in itself is really important for your teammates to follow, because they pay attention to your demeanor and your presence on the beam. And if you come off the beam, you know, a little bit down because you've just taken a fall, that can really affect the next person to go up. If you go up after a hit, that just makes you feel more confident and calm that you got it too, and that the person in front of you did their job, and now it's your turn to do yours.
That's Allie Gard there on your screen. She'll be next up for the Huskers on beam.
Another senior for the Huskers with some experience on the balance beam.
And
she has
La Crosse over there on beam, bars, excuse me. Sorry, Kinsey.
She has some experience just grounding herself now. She did not compete too much last year in the beam lineup, so she's been out for a moment and will take her opportunity up now, but a really great person to put up there and has great potential on beam.
You mentioned it, she performed beam 10 times as a sophomore, but didn't see action last year as much as a junior.
It looks like she's reworked her routine a bit to make it more comfortable to her. I've seen her change some elements around, and I think that she's settled on some good skills that she feels confident in. Back handspring out, step out, just nails it. Perfect. Nice leap connection on floor for Missouri.
That's Ayla Acevedo for the Tigers on floor.
Unfortunately, just comes off the beam on that side aerial.
Let's talk about Coach Molly talking about how they stuck 7 of 7 when they came in and practiced on this exact beam. What can you attribute these last 2 falls to? Is it just those first meet nerves?
I really do believe, I was actually talking to Heather about this, head coach. You can really prepare as much as possible, and nothing will actually replicate what it's like to compete in front of that first crowd of the season with those first meet jitters. It's one of those things that you just kind of have to work through in the moment, and you know, they are prepared and they have done the numbers, but sometimes the nerves just get to you. I would attribute it to that.
Homicillo had a really good bounce back after the Jenks fall with a 9-8, but Allie Gard's score just going to be a hair lower because of that fall. And you see Acevedo's
such a fun routine on floor.
Over on bars now, that's angles for University of Wisconsin-La Crosse.
Blindfold double back, hangs onto that landing. You can see she brings her foot back. That's something we were making note of. You have to hold those landings, and no matter which direction you take a step, you have to show that control and bring that foot back to a proper place. Nice finish for them on the bars.
And now next up over on beam, it's senior Nia Kraus. Scored that 9.775 on bars just a few minutes ago. Trying to get the Huskers back on track after a couple falls in this one already.
We see scores are taking a moment for Missouri on the floor, so we don't have those quite yet, but Nia in a position again to hopefully respond well and be in that rebound position. Although you have 2 falls, you know, this is the situation Missouri found themselves in last week, as we see another vault there for Wisconsin-La Crosse. It doesn't have to end here, though. We still have 3 girls to go up on beam for the Huskers, and their performance will matter, too. It's unfortunate for the Huskers, as they were already fighting a bit of a deficit going into beam, and now we'll have to continue that. But in a position where they can really bounce back in this back half of the lineup.
And then over on the right side of your screen, it's Kaya Tankskinen. Fun Hamilton music for her floor routine. I heard this one in warm-ups and got me excited to see what she had in store.
She has a beautiful full in, and she had a 9.85 last week. Naya with a handspring out, step out, nicely done. Kaya Tanskinen is another athlete that was thought highly of to pick up a little bit of this responsibility for the team, as Coach Shannon mentioned to me, and really pull her weight, integrating herself in these lineups. And you can see her presence just exudes confidence there on the floor. Really beautiful work. Naya looking steady on the beam.
The scores have finally come in for both of those Tigers in their first floor passes, 9.85s for both of them.
Wrapping up here, gainer full. Nice job from Naya. A little bit of a step back there. She's excited. Nicely done staying on her feet in that routine and bringing it back for the Huskers. And a great floor routine for Kaya. That was just really lovely and really enjoyable to watch. And she had beautiful and dynamic tumbling. Another look at that dismount from Naya. And that full in. Had a little bit of a scooch to the side. I'm interested to see how small or large of a deduction that might be, but had huge air time and was just really clean in the air.
Last year, Tanskinen was a freshman. She had a 9.9 on her floor debut and was just the 3rd Tiger to score a 9.9 in a debut in any event. It's always awesome to see that type of production in your freshman year, because you still have 3 more to go after that. Ali Gard will get a 9.075 for her beam routine, so the Huskers will actually be counting that 9.175 by Jenks. You can see that's Iowa gymnast Rayleigh Jackson getting ready to go on floor. She did not compete last week on floor, so this will also be her season debut, and that's Olivia Burns getting ready to take over for the Huskers.
Olivia is such a great athlete. She also has a triple series, which is extremely difficult to do on the beam, and she's been looking great in everything I've seen and has really earned her place in this spot. She's been working to get into this lineup, and similar to what we saw Karis on bars, I believe has really kind of become in a position where she can step up to the plate and take charge of that spot.
Slight delay on beam as they're still judging Nia Kraus, so we'll just take a look at Rayleigh Jackson here. She was part of that Mizzou lineup last year that had their highest score in team history.
As a freshman, too, that's got to be a great feeling to have and a great confidence booster. Both of these sophomores now, as she's following Kaya, really have a huge future with Missouri here, and with season highs and career highs and all the record-breaking scores. Wow, has really beautiful flexibility. You can see in some of these leaps that execution matters. You know, a lot of these girls are doing similar skills, but it's kind of about who does them well, what makes you stand out, and all the way down to the toe point and the pop of the split. You know, those are things you're paying attention to, and that was a front tuck step out through the double back with a very controlled landing. Nicely done from Riley Jackson. I really enjoyed her style of floor. Very calm and graceful and powerful, all mixed in one, and that was a great performance for them.
Teammate Kaya Tankskinen locked up a 9.825 right before her. So decent start for the Tigers on floor. Still some delay going on over at the beam. Not sure exactly what's going on, but Olivia Burns has been called over to the team huddle with Coach Molly Korth just to talk things over. How can a delay like this kind of throw off your routine?
Yeah, that's a good question. It can honestly, it can rattle you a little bit. You know, you are mentally ready to go, and then you're asked to pause, and then you think you might go again, and then you're asked to pause again. That rhythm I talked about a little bit, you build that up when you go after each of your teammates, and sometimes it's hard to wait, and it can make you think more, and so I'm sure they're just trying to distract her, either talk to her and distract her, or just continue to encourage her and build her up, as we're seeing Wisconsin on the bars now. Nice blindfold double tuck, just leans that dismount a little bit. Would have liked to see her hold that in place. She really held on to it though and wrapped up that routine well.
Everything in her tried to hold it, but just that small step back.
Yeah, that's a rule that judges are being really picky on as the years go on. They don't like that slide and scoot and salute anymore. They want you to be very controlled and hold that landing for 3 seconds before turning and saluting. Here will be Hannah Horton on the floor.
Had a 9.925 in their season opener last week.
Such a standout athlete for Missouri. This is going to be an exciting watch. Just a huge double layout. She just does it so casually, and that is so difficult.
You talk about trying to capture the judge's attention. Well, Kinsey, she has mine.
Absolutely. She's fun to watch, has a personality, and genuinely did her tumbling with such ease and tight body shape and form.
She's ranked 73rd in the nation in floor, so has the swagger, but also the skill.
Olivia is finally preparing to mount the beam here for her routine. After a long wait, she's prepared though and ready to rock. Opening with her triple series, as I mentioned before, will be a handspring layout. Layout absolutely nails it. Nice job from Olivia. She has a very poised and calm approach to her beam routine, which I love. It was something that they focused on last year as a team motto was being unshakable, but it looks like she took that approach personally for herself here. She really looks unshakable.
Kraus scored a 9.575 right before her.
This has been a really fantastic routine from Olivia so far. Just gonna see if she can drill this dismount. Nice job, makes it to her feet, really controlled, exactly what she was wanting to do. Really delivered in the best way she could. Another look here from Hannah Horton. That double layout, her ankles don't even separate. She just flies through the air. And Olivia on that dismount.
Little handshake action between her and senior Emily Frost.
Hey, I applaud her. It's so difficult to really wait around that long, as you had mentioned, and just mentally ready to go for your routine, but it's not quite that time. We can see now the graduate, Sophia McClelland, veteran. Unfortunately, we are missing her routine this year. She was so stellar on the beam for the Huskers, but has since graduated and is now giving Isabel Sycon a little pep talk. It's awesome to see her still included in the program and still around to encourage the other gymnasts still in the lineup currently.
And there's a lot of alumni here tonight, Kinsey. Saw a recognition of them before the meet, and there's
Emma Spence in the background even now.
right on cue.
Another beam routine we're missing this year.
One-handed.
Oh my gosh. Wow, that is so impressive that she hung on to that. She's gonna just continue moving forward.
9.925 for Hannah Horton and the Tigers on that exciting floor routine. And it brings
Wow,
up.
I gotta give Wisconsin-La Crosse some credit. That was really exceptional work for her to continue fighting through that. And honestly, that's what grit looks like, to not just come up off the bar and to continue holding on. As we saw a beautiful opening double pike here from Kennedy Griffin.
Kennedy Griffin, 14th nationally in floor.
Has some Beyonce-themed music here. She really opened up that double pike and flared it, had huge air time, so I'm excited to see the second pass. Wow, done just the same. She just soars through the air, and all these Missouri athletes have such great stamina to be able to completely perform their routine while also doing their skills up to par. Olivia Burns comes in with a 9.8, which is nice. Wow, beautiful leaps from Kennedy on floor. Nice job. We can see she did a difficult Popa combination, I think, to gain her 10ths back for that two-pass routine I was mentioning before. But she really can do it all, evenly distributed between both dance and tumbling, as Isabel Saikon mounts the beam, finally ready to go.
She has one of my favorite mounts of anyone on their team.
That back handspring element actually is worth credit of itself, so hangs on to that series. Good for her. Back handspring without step out. She's going to be hoping for some redemption after that bar routine that happened earlier this afternoon, and so far so good. Has a great switch half leap. It's a little unusual to see in college gymnastics, and she does it really well. Fulfilling that full turn element, and lastly we'll just be getting ready for her dismount.
This is the apparatus that Saikon is most comfortable on. She's competed every single meet on beam in her collegiate career.
And she nails this dismount. We'll see if she can do it tonight. Just a slight scooch back and to the side, but a nice job hanging on for Isabel. Definitely not an easy task given the fluctuation we saw in the lineup tonight, kind of going up and down, and also bouncing back from the bar routine that she had earlier. So a nice job from Isabel.
It's Kennedy Griffin on her phenomenal floor routine that earned her a 9.875, and now we see exhibitioner Sarah Wabi, graduate student. She transferred over from Illinois State this year.
Has some unique dance elements.
And while she's exhibitioning on floor for Missouri, she competed regularly on floor for Illinois State, so likely just a chance for her to show her skill to this new team.
Yeah, we have a couple of those who've transferred either midway through their collegiate career or just after to fulfill that graduate fifth-year position. And these athletes are not, you know, new to the competition environment, although them being on a new team. Rudy, back layout, step out, really well done. Really lovely form in the air. She's excited. Nice job from Sarah Wabi.
Missouri will finish up their floor rotation with 49.350. Not a single fall. The lowest score that they dropped was a 9.85. And that'll bring up Karis Griffin. She's that freshman we've seen quite a few times tonight, exhibitioning on beam for the Huskers.
Yeah, how cool for Karis to be stepping out onto the floor as a freshman and being immediately put into vault, bars, and beam. She's going to be excited about this debut performance. And another great athlete with such presence on the balance beam. She, again, is just really elegant and really poised and has just beautiful long legs that she takes advantage of in her skills. And so I certainly foresee her moving into the lineup position potentially at some point this season, as we mentioned earlier in the exhibition spot. Just allows athletes to gain that experience where they might be moved in and out. There's no guarantee that lineups will remain the same from meet to meet.
We referenced it earlier. She is 5'9". That's quite tall for a gymnast. Historically, they'll have that slightly smaller build. How can that, allow her to do moves that maybe other gymnasts can't do, but also what are the drawbacks of having that height?
Sometimes being tall really kind of makes things harder, and it makes skills a little harder to do, just because in gymnastics your body is your equipment, and I would claim to say that I'm on the taller side of being a gymnast, but not quite that tall, and it definitely can make things harder, and it also makes things more noticeable if your knees are bent or if you have maybe an angle in your shoulders or your hips. It's just more obvious that way. However, it also makes gymnastics so much more patient and take up so much more time and allow you more time in the air, because you just are dealing with more height, and so it can make everything higher and longer and that much more beautiful, and so definitely can be used as an advantage.
Isabel Sycon's score finally comes in at a 9.65, so the Huskers will finish beam with a 48, and that now opens the floor for Karis Griffin and her exhibition.
Lovely mount there and presence already.
Could you be speaking from personal experience on that mount?
Oh, I did a mount that looked like that. Beautiful pike front toss to back handspring series connection. She lands so tall. And such great flexibility. A little wobble there. What a beautiful switch leap, though. Full turn with a little wobble. Getting ahead of herself a little bit, it looks like. She'll just need to breathe here and center herself. Has a chance to nail this dismount, round off 1.5. Little hop forward, holds that landing. But a nice job from Karis. I really enjoyed watching her. She was very solid, and I definitely see her moving into that lineup spot.
So after this third rotation, Missouri extends their lead, 49.35 on the floor. Huskers, not their best performance on beam, a couple falls with a 48. Wisconsin-Stout 46.775 and Wisconsin-La Crosse 46.7. And we'll be back after a break for this final rotation in the Masters Classic here in Lincoln, Nebraska. Welcome back inside the Bob Devaney Sports Center and John Cook Arena, Arden Lockheim, alongside Kinsey Davis as we prepare for the final rotation of this meet. Missouri has a pretty healthy lead, but they will be on vault, known to be one of the tougher apparatuses. Nebraska will be over on the floor. As we take a look at our top performers from our last rotation, Lauren Hamasillo on the beam, 9.8. Hannah Horton, a 9.925 on the floor, Kinsey.
Yeah, a really great rotation for Missouri once again, and they're going to be wrapping things up here on the vault as the Huskers move to floor, prepared to hopefully rebound from a couple of rocky routines on both bars and beam.
We'll take a look where we stand right now. Nebraska at 145.2 and Missouri 147.975. All in the 49s for all three apparatuses so far. Missouri continuing that momentum that they created at their home meet, for Nebraska trying to bounce back after that 47.425 on beam. They're going to be on floor, and their floor head coach is new this year, or I guess their assistant coach, but their coach who's in charge of taking over floor is new this year. Kinsey, can you tell us more about that?
That's right. We can see her there. Coach Montana Rawl was a gymnast at the University of Kentucky and then gained some experience in club gymnastics, both in a head coach position as well as some operational programming side of things. So she comes with a lot of experience. Most recently has been coaching at OGA in Omaha, Nebraska, accepted the role earlier this year and has really just done a really great job with this floor crew. She says that they have a percentage ranking rate that they use to be really detailed focused on floor. They pay attention to tracking both their form and their landings in the gym, and she's integrated some pressure set situations where, you know, the girls' assignment is dependent upon what their show routine looks like and how much they have to do after that based on how it goes. So she definitely has challenged them, and she wants to see really great performance from them. She doesn't want these girls to just make their floor routine. She wants them to make them well and also have the extra stamina to actually perform them. So we'll see with the leadoff now, Allie Gard, what her floor routine looks like.
Senior from Texas, trying to bounce back from that beam. The nice part about doing 2 events is you can finish on a high note.
Allie has experience on the floor and loves to perform, loves to dance. So she'll be in her element here, and this is a great start for her with that opening double back. Nice leap combination. You can see the girls on the side getting involved. Allie will do a 3-pass floor routine, which in their inner squads, the judges have liked to see. I know I've mentioned more than once that we're seeing some variety of 2 and 3 passes. It just depends on how your routine is constructed for you to be able to do that. But judges do sometimes favor, you know, going back to that 3-pass routine that used to be very common in club and college gymnastics. And some gymnasts recently have found a way around that to take one out. But Allie hides nothing. She's also going to end with a difficult pass, another double back, another double salto. So she's got to have a big set here and big endurance to do so.
Over on the right side of your screen, that was Kennedy Griffin in her first vault for the Tigers.
She had big air and big amplitude. Unfortunately, just a little too much and couldn't get her feet underneath her. She sat that last pass down, but hey, that's going to be good to know that she had that extra juice to kind of pump that backwards rather than under rotate. So take the positive away. But unfortunately, just going to be hoping for a different result than that in a leadoff. However, you can still drop 1 score, but now the Huskers will find themselves in a situation they found themselves on beam.
It's just hard to start off with a fall. Everything gets a little bit tighter. Everything feels like you have to stick it, you have to pull through. You can see there, that's Kaya Tanskinen finishing off her vault for Mizzou, and Kennedy Griffin had that 9.825 on her first vault.
That's right, and Kaya was a little close to the table there. She does an unusual front vault. However, she lacked distance a little bit as we get a second look at that here. She does a front handspring, front pike half. She left her chest down just slightly and took a step to the side. So really great, unusual vault we're seeing. We see a lot of Yurchenko entries, so I love that for her. We'll have to see, it's in the judges' hands now, how much deduction they take. But I feel there will be a sizable deduction for those factors just mentioned. As we see a nice ending to that bar routine over there for Wisconsin-Stout.
That's Cora Cardilano.
She just nailed that double back dismount, and the team is excited and much deserved. Now we'll see Wisconsin-La Crosse on the beam.
It's going to be Vogt on the beam for Wisconsin-La Crosse.
Wow, really solid back handspring layout step out there.
Wisconsin-La Crosse leadoff, Lucy Warren started off with a 9.75.
And that is Rayleigh Jackson on the vault. Yurchenko 1.5. Really great vault. Took a step to the side, but really impressed that she's throwing a 10.0 vault. That her form is really good and her ankles are glued together.
Teammate Kaya Tanskinen got a 9.725 on her vault. And now back to Vogt on her her beam routine.
highest vault did start from a 10.0, which maybe gave her the extra wiggle room, as we see a great front toss flutter jump there on the beam.
Slight hold up over on the floor for the Huskers.
Wow, what a routine from Vogt. That was really great, and her teammates are excited by that one. Really starting that rotation off strong for Wisconsin-La Crosse.
Now it's finally Nia Kraus. Been looking forward to her all afternoon long. She's one of my personal favorites, as her facial expressions are hard to miss. Get a quick replay.
Here on vault from Missouri, a beautiful Yurchenko full. Little springy, hop backwards. Gotta just engage those legs to nail that landing, but had just a ton of distance and height. Nia trying to stay in bounds there on floor. You can see she had a great double back opening and had to rise up on her tippy toe to stay in bounds. Love her leap. She has such great flexibility.
8.725 for guard on floor before Kraus. Rayleigh Jackson also got a 9.8 on vault for Mizzou.
Unfortunately, there is a fall on bars for Wisconsin-Stout, so she is just collecting herself and gaining some chalk. Nia's looking good on the floor. Gearing up for this last pass now. Double pike, nicely done. That is not easy to do. Another 3-pass routine. Well done for Nia. A great floor routine for the Huskers. And another stick on bars.
Good recovery after the fall. For Nia, phenomenal bounce back. It's exactly what she did over on the beam after we had the first leadoff fall. Kraus once again showing up and throwing down a good routine to get the team's mojo back.
Yeah, that's really important to know about her character and her ability to be a leader on the team, because when someone has an error in front of you, you know, you do fall into a role that can dictate whether it continues on or if you put a stop to it. Now on vault, we see a Yurchenko 1.5.
Elise Tisler, the redshirt senior.
Another look at that here. She has good technique, twisting that full and wrapping that second half kind of earlier in the air than sometimes we see. Nice job there. Wisconsin-La Crosse did tell me they feel as though beam is probably their strongest event and their strength as a team. Unfortunately, we did see a fall here on that triple series, but she nearly had it, completed a handspring layout, step out, and was trying so hard to hang on, and I can applaud her for going for a really difficult triple series. Unfortunately, had the fall today, but brings it back with a stuck landing, and good for Wisconsin-La Crosse. I know you mentioned their success, you know, coming into this season, and it's early for them as well, so just kind of getting those nerves out in addition to other teams we've seen tonight.
Yeah, that's Lauren Main, the junior from Illinois, finishing off her beam routine there. And
Hannah Horton on vault, nailing another vault. I'll be interested to see what that gets. Another look there. Here is Reese Beckley, the Lindenwood transfer.
Kraus's routine before her got a 9.6.
Unfortunately, I feel that the error near the out-of-bounds line on floor might have hurt Nia a little bit in this score, because the gymnastics she did was pretty good. Just kind of cut it there close, as we see a front double full from Reese Beckley.
And a 9.975 for Hannah Horton over on vault just got scored.
Wow. She did nail that vault. She was excited about it, and she really is just a force to be reckoned with for the Missouri team. Such a great asset to them. I also love watching Reese Beckley on floor, because she's just really captivating. She really goes all out in her dance. We saw 1.5 front full there. Made those 2 passes to her feet. Another Yurchenko 1.5. from Missouri.
That's their exhibitioner, Dakota Essenpriest. Beckley competed in all but 2 floor events, or all but 2 meets, excuse me, last year.
Another look from Dakota. Another great vault that could be put up in the lineup at any point. It's going to be hard for Missouri to stick with one lineup, I would assume, because they just have a lot of depth on their team of girls who are capable of doing that. And a good finish for Reese Beckley. She's another athlete who's just composed and kind of a gamer when it's time to put your game face on and deliver a floor routine. I feel like she does that frequently and really goes all out in her performance, which I can definitely appreciate. Now we've got Madeline McCormick here on beam for Wisconsin-La Crosse. Pretty full turn. Lovely front aerial, split jump. She's an athlete who gains a lot of height on the beam. Back handspring without step out. She looks very comfortable up there. Pretty switch leap split jump. Just very polished from Madeline. Really clean routine. Back handspring, tuck 1.5, stuck the landing. Really well done for them. They're having a great performance there on beam and a great job rebounding after an unfortunate fall. Next up on floor is Isabel Sycon. Isabel has not competed floor for the Huskers, so this will be new for her this year, but has a lot of experience training floor and being in the mix. So definitely an athlete who kind of has those reps under her belt, but I'm looking forward to seeing how she does under a crowd here tonight. Absolutely beautiful double back to open, so powerful.
Sycon is also taking part in every other event so far tonight, so now taking part in the floor gives her an opportunity to be part of that all around.
Beautiful job, a back 1.5 front full. And all around is definitely a role Isabel could do. Unfortunately had, you know, some uncharacteristic mistakes here on bars and beam tonight, but has a big history of performing well, as we saw the score update from Reese Beckley coming in at a 9.75. Nice routine from Isabel Sycon. Another hit for the Huskers, as they're still going to be looking to drop that score from Allie Gard. There will be 2 gymnasts remaining after her, Whitney Jenks and Lauren Homostillo.
Good bounce back by Krause, Beckley, and Sycon after the fall to lead things off. 3 straight, fairly clean routines. Krause obviously flirted with the out of bounds, but really besides that. And that's Raina Christensen getting ready to go on beam for Wisconsin-La Crosse.
Both Raina and Claire, who is to follow Raina, are D3 national champions. So seems like they have a stacked beam lineup here, throwing out some of those big time stats as we wait for, the score for Madeline McCormick just came in at a 9.85, very well deserved. That was such a lovely routine. I'm excited to see the back half of this Wisconsin-La Crosse beam lineup.
Talked about it, head coach said it was their strongest event, and a team that is very recognized at the D3 level. We talked about those NCGA national champions.
Yeah, they came in here wanting to kind of prove their place in an arena like this, and they're doing exactly that, and excited to see if they can even perform that as well. Big triple series, handspring layout. Looked a little crooked to me, and I applaud her for hanging on to that. She was just slightly off, but got herself back centered, which is what a true beamer would do. Switch leap, really well done. A little bit of a low front leg on that first switch leap, but a really difficult connection to do. It's something you don't see a lot, and it's very hard as she's moonwalking on the beam now, as if just doing gymnastics on it wasn't hard enough. Here comes Whitney Jenks on the floor. Whitney has a new routine this year. Nice round off 1.5 to finish for Raina Christensen. As I mentioned, Whitney has a new routine this year. Is opening with a punch front double full, which is an E. Really well controlled. We've seen a couple of those tonight, and I would argue that was probably the most controlled one we've seen.
When it comes to those extra steps and floor, how are they a little bit different than the other apparatuses?
Yeah, floor is almost more subjective, I would say, of course, because you know, you can cover it with dance, or it depends, you know, which direction you're going to, and all other landings on your feet in the other events would be landings, whereas floor is kind of, you're on your feet the whole time bouncing around, so it's easier to hide, easier to cover, but you can tell when someone lands right up and down upright and has just a better control of their body. Whitney can really do it all, both forwards and backwards. Last year she ended with a double back, and this year she will be doing a front layout front Rudy, which was her opening pass last year. Nicely done. Really clean for Whitney. That was a nice floor routine and a great first showing of her new skills that she's been doing. I really favor that front double full. It was really beautifully done. On bars, we saw a little mishap just a second ago. This exhibition routine just missed her hand, but held on to it.
Second one-handed save of the night.
Yeah, I think that was the second Ginger to one hand we've seen. And both of them have powered through and got to the end, which is such just sportsmanship and true just athleticism to not give up and not come off that bar. It's very admirable for these athletes to not give up when things get hard.
On the right side of your screen, you have Sarah Best, the anchor for that University of Wisconsin-La Crosse lineup.
Another one of those athletes that is in the position to be the anchor is a big deal, and it speaks highly of what you can bring to the team and to the lineup. We see Isabel Sycon's score comes in at a 9.825, and I expect Whitney Jenks to also achieve a high score. So with the performance of Lauren Homosillo, the potential to drop Allie's score is looking good.
As Sarah Best finishes up her routine, you can hear the music in the background of Lauren Homosillo's floor routine that she's just begun.
Nice dismount to finish that beam routine, and another hit routine for Wisconsin-La Crosse. So I believe they just had the one fall and were able to recover from that really beautifully, so that's awesome for them. Lauren Homosillo opened with a double back with a controlled lunge out of it.
Jenks scores a 9.825.
That's a really solid score for the routine she put up. There we see Lauren do that 1.5 front layout and step to the side, adds a little pose there at the end.
And if any Husker fans recall, Homosillo had that incredible 9.95 on floor last year that earned her those big Specialist of the Week honors. Trying to continue that level of performance this year.
Sure, I know that, you know, that must have increased her confidence quite a bit in that floor routine, and now we see her in the anchor spot, so it's really special to see her work her way up to earning that at position, as I mentioned earlier, hold some weight to it. Wrapping up here with another double back. Oh, just takes a small lunge forward, but you can see that that was a controlled landing, and she didn't slide that foot more than she needed to, and she took a lunge. Again, stepping forward is a bit more of a deduction, but hey, she did her job and did her task, did a 3-pass routine to her feet, and really concluded that lineup to be well.
A solid 5 performances after the fall to start them off, and good for the Huskers to end on a high note. Tomasello in her senior year. She's from Papillion, Nebraska, getting to rep the colors that she grew up cheering for. Always just an extra added level of excitement when you're a homegrown Husker.
Yeah, I think that makes competing here in Bob Devaney that much more special. I remember as a club gymnast, she would have her state meet in here, so I can imagine how far she's come just competing at state meet and now getting to anchor at the collegiate level.
Entered into the exhibitions for University of Wisconsin-La Crosse. This is Kobe Powell.
Unfortunately, Kobe just has a fall there on her series. Back handspring without step out. Looked a little crooked and wasn't able to hold on to it. You can hear now Olivia Burns is beginning her exhibition routine on the floor.
I have to
confident
say,
and ready.
She's got one of my favorite floor routines of any Husker gymnast. You can just see her personality coming through. She'll even dial up her hand phone at one point during this performance.
Beautiful double pike. There it goes. And to conclude on beam, we see a back handspring 1.5 dismount. Unfortunately, taking that second fall, just under-rotated it. Oh, a great save for Olivia, catching herself there on that second double back. And a difficult leap connection there. Olivia has worked so hard to gain some endurance for this lengthy floor routine and adding in all the skills she needs, and she continues to perform it and have fun with it. And I agree with you. I think this is probably my favorite one to watch so far tonight. Ending here with a run up, 1.5 punch front layout, and gets it done. Montana's happy, and what a great moment for Olivia. Nicely done. She really performed that routine well, and the team must be so happy for her. And yeah, that was a great debut for her.
Lauren Tomasello locked up a 9.825 with her floor routine, so the Huskers were able to drop the fall that they started with, and they'll end off floor with a 48.825. We're going to take a look as that final performance wraps up our meet. Top performers today, all Missouri. Not surprising considering they ended with a 197.275. It's Addison Lawrence with that 9.95 on beam. Kimara Eccles with the 9.925 on bars. Hannah Horton with the 9.925 on floor. And then finally, Hannah Horton once again with a 9.975 on vault. That's the one that really got the Tigers fired up. A good day for Hannah Horton and the Missouri Tigers. All-around results we talked about, 197.275. So Missouri started the year off very strong against Iowa State with that 196.45. Even bettered it today for the Huskers, 194.6, a building point for the rest of their season undeniably.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think the Huskers were hoping to start off with a little bit stronger of a score. However, as you mentioned, you know, it is just the first meet. It's first meet jitters. They're kind of finalizing lineups. They're trying to establish, you know, what's going to work well and mesh well, but also had some big falls. I foresee the Huskers, you know, just next week, just making their routines and hitting 24 for 24 would increase their score significantly by none other than just making their routines to their feet before getting into the nitty-gritty. Although it will be important, as we mentioned, that new NQS ranking percentage and how that's calculated. So, yeah, it was definitely a starting point for them.
Always good to have gymnastics back here in the Bob Devaney Sports Center and Lincoln, Nebraska. For Missouri, they're undefeated on the year so far. They will go back to Missouri and face #1 Oklahoma, the reigning national champions. And for the Huskers, they will go to the West Coast, to Los Angeles, to take on UCLA. So both exciting matchups for these teams as they continue on their year. Huskers into their second meet of the season and Missouri into their third. For both Wisconsin teams, they'll take the lengthy drive back to their corresponding spots in Wisconsin and continue their year for Wisconsin-La Crosse, trying to continue their defense campaign of the NGCA National Championship. Thank you so much for joining us here on Big Ten Plus this afternoon. Arden Lockheim alongside Kinsey Davis, and until next time,